Right guys, here we go. Here is the set that I got working quite a while ago, which still works fine. And here is the new one, the old one. It turns out this one appears to be much older than this one, because the serial number here is 57,188. Serial number over here is 92,963. So that's about 45,000 and a bit, or 45,700 and something units between when this one left the factory and when that one left the factory. This assumes there was only one factory and the serial numbers are consecutive. And I got no idea whether that's true or not, but it would seem like for the time and the era and what was going on, that seems like an awful lot. Well, it seems like a big production run. Anyway, that's the first item. Second is on here there's only 6 caps visible, whereas over here I got 8. However, looking around the back, I found 2 more caps wired directly to the coils. And I gotta say, this approach would seem to be the more practical, and yet this is the much older unit if we go by serial numbers. And so nothing major in terms of complication here, except obviously the coils. So let me see if I can zoom in on show you the coils. So there's one of them right there. That's a single coil, so I'll have a go at that one first, I think, when the time comes. And here's another one here, which is 2 coils. So if this goes okay, I'll have a shot at this one. So at some point I'm going to need to take these out of here so I can do as accurate as I can measurements on physical dimensions, gauge of wire, inductance and resistance and whatever. So I have some chance of making something similar. I also need to order up some electrolytics. I don't have any of those, I think, in stock, these guys here. And hopefully I'll find a slightly better arrangement, because these really ought to go in the big rectangular can on the other side. But since that's where my capacitive dropper is, there's no room for those guys in there. So they just barely squeeze in here. Hopefully it'll go okay in the other one as well. Okay, so I think the first challenge, or the next step, is going to be to wire this guy into the rest of the chassis. It's just temporarily installed here at the moment. I may have been a bit ambitious using this cloth covered wire, because there's quite a number of wires have to come out of here and go to various places, but there's only very small holes here to get them through. So we'll see how that goes, but I might end up reverting back to regular hookup wire. This stuff, if it looks like it's going to be problematic, so long as I guess I got to check that this stuff will cope with the up to 600 volts or whatever. I just took the the wave selector out. I had it temporarily put in, and where the there's 2 nuts go on here at each side to mount and hold it rigidly, and then of course you have the main nut in the center shaft. I noticed that there was plenty of thread poking through here to put a nut and a washer on, but not even hardly enough here to put the nut on its own. So I assumed the shafts were different lengths, but when I took it out, no, they're not. The shaft here has got as much thread poking out as here. So, quick look around underneath, and we can see the problem. At manufacture time, they put an extra metal plate in here to hold these 2 sections together, which is spot welded, and it goes right up to the hole. So there isn't enough room for the switch plate to sit firmly against this side of the chassis. So I'm going to have to cut out a piece here to allow that to sit down properly, because otherwise when you tighten it up with the nut, basically the whole thing is tilted off to an angle, and it's going to be under tension and that's not going to be good for switch contacts and all that sort of stuff. So there you go, another little distraction along the way. Hey guys, bit of a mishmash thing this. That monitor stand came from my PC for the workbench. So it's right next to the coil winder, and it actually moves out quite far to probably the other side of the coil winder. So it's actually quite near the rest of the workshop as well. Really wasn't happy with the quality of the sound out of these little itty bitty speakers here. So I grabbed this guy that I often use with my laptop. Much better. So that's that out of the way. I got a couple of projects going simultaneously at the moment. So obviously the big one is the Radialva, but I also have a bit of a guitar project on the go here. I don't know how much of this I'll video, but it's basically I think the first ever series electric guitar that I had. But it's sort of played to pieces, and so it needs a new body. I'm going to try and salvage the neck, but don't know if that'll work yet. So that's okay. So where are we with the Radialva? So as I said, what I've been doing is basically getting to know this wave change setup as much as I can, and as you can imagine, it takes a while to figure this stuff out. One of the reasons being the way these wafer switches are done. They're kind of like in 3 layers, so it's really hard to see the part that's actually rotating. So from the drawing, I figured out that what you have here, you have 2 wafers, and they're each 3-pole 4-way switches, and 1 pole is not connected on each of them. So obviously you only have a 3-way, you have a 3-pole 3-way, which is long wave, medium wave, and short wave. I then just figured out, okay, if these 2 guys here represent this wave change mechanism, I have to identify the wires that go off of it onto other parts of the set. And so I identified 5 or 6. So let me just see. So obviously where the antenna comes in, that's 1, and that goes straight to the one of the poles. Where the signal goes out to the variable condenser, that's another one. Then there is one down here which goes off to a resistor, and so that's 3. Then over on this side, on the local oscillator, is obviously 1 goes off to the other variable condenser, and there's 1 goes off to the first valve, and so that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. However, in the photographs I made of this thing, there are 6 wires connected to it. And so far, I'm damned if I can find the 6th wire. I know which one it is on here, because I've identified the 5 that I need. And I have 1 more, which is connected to a piece of wire which joins 3 coils together. However, when I look at the other set, would you believe it, it's done differently. So you have the same coils, but for instance this one is in the other way around. So you have the large coil at this end and the smaller one at that end, and functionally I guess it's all rewired differently to be the same functionally, but it's not very much use in trying to figure out where the hell does this wire go. So that's kind of where we're struggling at the moment. I guess if push comes to shove, I'll just leave it sticking out somewhere that I can get to it later. But you know, when I I mean, I did take a lot of photographs of this once I took it out, but I didn't take photographs of it when it was in situ, and that was probably on reflection a mistake. But I took the simple view at the time that the set had been so badly got at that any photographs I take wouldn't be of that much value. But just maybe I can show you. This is the one. This is the original one when I took it out. You can see there's a connector here for the capacitor, which is 1. Then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so I've identified this connection, that connection, that connection, that connection, that connection. But this one here, which is connected to these 3, cannot identify where that one goes. So we'll keep at it because I need to get that sorted. Or I really want to get that sorted before I put this thing back in. More to come once I've had a breakthrough of some sort. So here we are a day later. So last night I was browsing through the 10th anniversary edition of the French Radio Club. And there's a big feature which basically goes through the whole history. Here we go. So this is kind of like the whole history of how different clubs in France came together to be the club that there exists now. And while browsing, I noticed this. So this is one of the magazines from one of the previous clubs that later merged to become the one we have today. And I thought, here's my set right here. So I wonder if I can get my hands on a copy, a back issue of this magazine. And so I went searching in the back. They have a DVD which has all the back issues. And so I'm going to get a hold of this DVD and find out if there's a feature on that Radialva that's on the cover. And if there is, it might provide a lot more information than I have at the moment. So I'm going to give that a shot. So this little project might go on ice for a while until I see whether or not this additional information is going to be helpful. So more to come when this arrives.